So I'm going to go over the rules real quick for each rank. So the SPBL stands for the Switchport Battle League. It's a 5-on-5 style battle league where you raise 5 monsters and each monster is a different rank. There's rank D, C, B, A, and S. D is very simple. You have a stat tap total of 1,200. A single stat cannot exceed 350, and your speed and defense cannot exceed 300. And there's no special condition except for attack restrictions, which goes to basic attacks only. And if you win a D rank battle, you will get 1 point. C is 1,600 base total, 45 or 450 single stat cap, 380 speed defense stat cap. You can have any move on your monster legally obtainable, except for special attacks. B, there's a pretty big stat increase, so that's 2,250. A single 600 stat cap, 500 on the speed and defense. And the special conditions of this tier is you have to have a mixed attacker. So your power and intelligence must be on the same level. You win a B rank, you get 2 points. For A, it's 200 or 2,500 stat cap, 750. My gosh, can't say numbers. This is why I'm art teacher. 750. 750 for a single stat cap and 630 for your speed. For A, you have to have a low guts rate monster, so a monster with 15 guts rate or lower. You win 3 points if you win this tier. And finally, the S tier is 3,500 total. There's no limit on a single stat. The special condition of this is if your monster has grit, which for those who don't know, grit is basically if your monster gets knocked out, they can stand back up with 1 health point left. If that happens, it's basically like the grit didn't happen. There's only a couple of banned monsters in this league. So there's Metalner Subs, Kamui, Blue Phoenix, and Punisher. Those are agreed upon to be some of the most top tier monsters in the game. But that's pretty it for the rules. Other than that, you can pretty much raise whatever you want.
I do want to point one thing out really quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
Some people might be a bit confused why single stats and speed and defense have different stat caps for certain ranks. That's because in Monster Rancher and Monster Farm as well in the port, your monster can have different form. And what that means is they could be skinnier or they could be fatter. And that actually affects your stats directly. It doesn't show it in the game, but it affects your stats when it goes to calculate how much attacks do and how likely you are to dodge certain attacks. And there's no real way to track this with how we can pull monsters from other people's freezers online in the port. And originally it was just going to be an honor system, but we found out, we figured this would be the easiest way to do it. If we just capped speed and defense to different numbers, so that way if your monster is as skinny as possible, and which that gives a bonus speed, you're not actually going over the stat cap, you're with the speed and defense limits, you're just going up to the stat cap, or as close as you can get with easy to remember round numbers. The reason why S rank doesn't have that requirement is because since everything's maxed out anyways, there's no real point in having it capped out to anything, because if you want to say raise something with a lot of speed and a lot of defense, there's nothing stopping you, and you don't get any bonus if you're going for maximum speed with form into account, because your stats can't go over 999 to begin with. So since that's the single stat limit, you don't get any bonuses for having different.
Right. I think at max skinniness or max fatness, it's a 1.25 times multiplier, right?
Yes, it's 1.25 times multiplier.
Cool. All right. Like Kahuna was saying in the chat, if you're interested in joining the league after this exhibition match, this is not part of the actual league. This is just us showing off the format to get interested. And at the end of the stream, I'll go ahead and show you guys how to submit yourself into the league. you're not tethered to these 5 monsters. One of the things that Kahuna wants to really push is that 1 week you can have a set of 5 monsters. Say your B rank monster doesn't do that great. You want to try a different build out. You can have a whole new monster, a different build on the same monster. There's gonna be a lot of flexibility to this. So we've talked your guys' ear off a lot. Let's go ahead and start with D rank. So,
all right.
Here is our teams. I'm on the left side. Kahuna's on the right side. Actually, probably should have prepped the actual match.
That's fine. That gives you a bit more time to talk about the league. So what you're looking at here is, in the league, each monster fights the other monster respective to his rank. So the D monster is going to fight the D monster, so on and so forth. So, for example, our first match is going to be Nematode versus Deebo. And so how it's going to work is they're going to fight in a determined best of 3 or best of 5 match. And whichever one wins, the best of 3, best of 5, gets points. And you'll see for example, underneath Macho's name, there's a hyphen there. That number will change, I presume, with the points as their reward.
Yeah, and also what I've decided to do is the monster on the side that loses, we're going to gray them out. So just as a other visual indicator of which monster is won, which monster is lost.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start. D rank is best of 3, and I believe everything else is best of 5. Yes, D rank is best of 3. Every other tier is best of 5. So we have Nematode, which is a Beakland Tiger, and Deebo, which is a Baku Durahan. So let's go ahead and start.
All right, let's get started.
All right, so basically, both Kahuna and I basically did max health, max defense. He did more in skill, I did more in power.
Yeah, so if you're looking at these monsters' moves and being a bit confused, once again, D rank only has your basic techs, and that's explicitly the moves that you start with, because, for example, Nematode could have more moves in that slot, but it's only the moves you start with. So this is actually a pretty interesting requirement. I haven't really seen this anywhere else. All right, and I'm looking at this match so far, and it's looking like that Deebo has a slight advantage here. Both these monsters don't do a heck of a lot of damage to each other, but all their attacks, like right there you just saw with Nematode, just use a bunch of moves all in a row. That really made evened up the field really quickly, just because all these moves cost so little. However, that critical charge from Deebo there at the end, I think, is going to seal the deal for our first match.
Yeah, Nematode got a lead for just a couple of seconds, but Deebo actually came in at the last second and got a couple of hits in. So D rank is basically 2 big babies fighting each other, if you really want to break it down into something like that. All right, so we got Deebo up 1-0. So if he wins the next round, that means Kahuna is 1 D rank. So let's go ahead. Oh, one neat thing about the port that's way different than an emulated version of the game or the PS2 version of the game is, in the old version of the game, AI monsters couldn't attack unless they had 45 guts or more. In the port, they went ahead and completely did away with that. So the port version of the monsters, they're not afraid to start hitting a move at like 10 guts if they have it, 15 guts if they have it.
Yeah. And we're really going to see that come into effect, especially in D rank, since I think that the most expensive basic tech in the game is 16 guts, and monsters get a lot more than 16 guts over the course of a match. Hell, they usually start with 50, which is enough for 5 attacks. So if you only cost 10, which most basics do. And we can really see what we were just talking about going to effect with Nematode, really slamming that horn right down.
And Deebo's answering back with a flurry of sand.
Who knew sand could be so effective right here? I mean, it's not doing a whole heck of a lot of damage, but it definitely evened up the playing field. And it goes for it again, but this time it actually misses.
So, in the long run, with Withering Techs, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how much Withering has been or has been not nerfed in the port. Considering the fact that, you know, if you wither them down to 10, 20 guts, they're still able to attack, right?
Well, sure they can attack, but that also brings up another important mechanic about Monster Rancher, and that's if you have more guts than your enemy does, you have a higher chance to hit, and you do slightly more damage. Now, these numbers aren't big. We're talking like 5% at most, if I'm recalling correctly. But it's still significant enough to the point where, you know, like, for example, if a monster blows all of its guts on something early and, you know, drops 45 guts on the floor because it misses a big, like, special slot 4 move, and then the enemy monster does the same thing but hits, that's pretty significant. That could be the difference between KOing and not.
Mm-hmm.
And we might not see big swings like that in D rank, but, for example, say a monster, like, uses all of its moves and gets, like, around 100 to 150 damage in, and then, like a monster, like, for example, what happened in the first game, all of a sudden Deebo uses charge and it crits and it does like 50, 60, 70 damage. And that swing might just go right back in its favor. And you might be wondering why are moves doing so much damage before they did nothing. It's probably because of the differences in guts when the monsters use the moves.
Mm-hmm. All right, so they actually tied 1-1 right now. So this match right here is going to be the deciding factor on who wins D rank. Winning and losing D rank isn't going to be a huge blow or a huge gain to whoever does it, considering it's only 1 point. It would be very interesting, though, to see if D rank would be a deciding factor, but I guess if you're thinking statistically speaking, it shouldn't be. But it would be cool if it was.
I mean, it still very much can. Like, the situation's right there if you just look at, like, the graphic again, for example. Because if I'm not mistaken, C and B are 2 points each, and S and A are 3 points each.
Yes, they are.
So if, for example, you win C and A, and Kahuna wins B and S, whoever wins this right here might actually decide who wins overall.
All right, so no one's really missing too much. Nematode punched a lot, and then Deebo has been going for Dust Cloud. All right, so if Nematode can combo these punches together and run out the clock, he's gonna win. And all right, it looks like that's what happened. All right. So,
yeah, I don't even think a critical Dust Cloud's even doing that. So it looks like Nematode wins the first match. I know we didn't talk too much about the match itself, but that's because there wasn't too much going on in the individual match. They're using the basics at each other. There's not a lot of option coverage there. And we were really taking the time to explain more what was happening with the league itself. But what really happened there for both matches that Nematode won, it really it pulled out the punches, and that's not me saying like, oh yeah, it attacked more or anything. It literally pulled out the punches instead of the horn slams. The punches really seem to work well for it there. So it'll be really interesting to see once the Spee-bul actually starts, if Nematode can keep up this dominance, let's say.
I think one of the important things about the punches too is it's a really quick animation compared to like a lot of Baku's animations, right? Which that can be something that comes into play a lot. Sometimes even if your monster misses a tech, they can still run out the clock just from how much the move animation takes up.
Yeah.
Okay, let me save this real quick. Should be updated. Oh, should be updated, please.
All right. It's not showing update on my screen, but while you figure that out, there it is. I'm going to answer some questions in chat that we've gotten while you pull up the next couple monsters. Does that sound good?
Yeah, go for it, please. You are a lot more knowledgeable about this than I am, so I'm really lucky to have you on.
And you know what? I'm glad to be here. Honestly, it's great practice for tomorrow when I have to commentate over a Monster Rancher match for the first time in like 6 months.
Hey, bro, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, so Zanaga says in chat, though they only suck because of how they're trained though, there's nothing stopping them like in Pokemon or something. And then Sirke said, oh, they're intentionally bad by the ranches, not just the game. Yeah, so each rank has a different stat cap, and as we're going to get to S rank, you're going to see that there's a stat cap in place for S rank. The stats are going to look a lot more impressive. There's actually a higher stat cap than there was for the official tournament that Tecmo hosted. So it's really going to show off some rancher skill. I also do want to point out really quickly that getting stats to really low stat caps, like was in like that was there, for example. It does take a decent amount of skill and patience. So every single rank takes a decent bit of patience and skill to actually raise a good monster for. It's a lot more obvious with some of the higher ranking ones. Staircase also asks, are there any monster archetypes like the definitive best? So different breeds can go for different builds and stuff, but there are certainly some breeds that are better than others, like we talked about before. Metal Nerd is by far and away the best monster in the game, and there's some enemy monsters that we've also banned because they run train.
Right.
So
oh, sorry. Oh. Do you mind if I have a quick aside real quick?
Yeah, go right here.
So speaking of enemy monsters, we have one of them up right now, which is the one on the right, which is a special breed of centaur called a sniper. Unlike a lot of the enemy monsters, it doesn't look too much different than its normal breed. I believe it's just a normal centaur with red eyes and a scar on his chest. But these special enemy monsters are exclusively raisable in the port version of the game.
Correct. You can't unless you use cheats to reskin your monsters. You cannot raise these unless you are playing on the mobile or the Switch versions of Monster Farm 2 that was released earlier this year.
All right. So you think we're good to start with C?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. Also, I think to answer your question earlier, what's changed? I think it also might be slightly darker green, but I cannot tell you.
To
say the life of me, it just looks slightly darker, but that also might just be something like the string.
Looks like it's a little bit more of like a little blue hue, kind of like a teal sort of.
Yeah.
So in terms of builds, for Pontoon, which is a Zilla Pixie, Zilla's the biggest monster in the game. Size actually matters with where the monsters start on the battle, which means that's what tech they can use right off the bat. Now this Zilla that I raised, it's actually a special Zilla. I believe it was in the original version of the game too, but it all started out with 17 stats.
I know there's some that start like that. I actually don't know if Zilla had something like that, but that sounds correct. I don't know for certain, but that sounds like it. That's accurate.
I think it was 17 or 47. If it's 17, I'm going to be a little bit embarrassed because I'm looking at the intelligence right now and I'm just like, how did I get it up to 39 if it started with 17? But, builds. Kahuna went with more HP, a little bit less attack, a little bit less intelligence. We both did max skill, and I did max speed, when I believe he did a more defensive build with a plump monster. Yes. Yeah, Xiphoid. Xiphoid is plump, so that means he's slower, but he's more defensive.
Yeah.
So one of the... for Pontoon... Oh, starting out with a big roll assault. And...
See, that roll assault's going to do a lot of damage. Yeah.
So one of the... Oh, okay. So Xiphoid gets angry. I think that's anger.
I think that's anger.
His guts rate's going up pretty fast. So when a monster is a bad-natured monster, you can train your monster to be good, or you can train your monster to be bad. And they have different battle specials based upon that. If your monster is good, you get a battle special called Power, which is if you get hit under a third of your health. Oh God.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's. If I'm not mistaken, that's Rush Slash. It's a move that does a lot of damage, so if it hits, it's going to do a decent amount of damage. And it actually I think it did enough to knock out Pontoon from one hit, even if it didn't have any damage on it left.
Yeah, Pontoon is a very glass cannon style monster. Despite her being huge, she cannot take hits at all. I basically tried to do the gambit of very fast, hits hard, very accurate, cannot take a hit at all. So Kahuna is up 1-0. So like I was saying with the battle specials, good monsters get power, which means... Okay.
Oh! Survives this time, though.
Once they get power, their damage is doubled? It's doubled, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's doubled.
And if you're... Okay, Xiphoid keeps hitting these like low accuracy rush slashes and just kicking Pontoon's ass.
Yeah, Pontoon's out for the count. That was actually kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
She has to do the reverse 3-0 to win this set.
Yes, something we didn't mention in the beginning. C rank is best to 5. So unlike D rank, if this was D rank, this would be over by now. But C rank, it's the first to it's the first to 5. So, or no, it's best of 5. So it's the first to 3 wins. So if Pontoon loses one more match, then that's over. But if Xiphoid loses 3 matches in a row here, then Pontoon takes the victory.
Mm-hmm. So for the evil monsters, their special battle ability is called Anger, which makes their guts rate go up way faster, and it's generally considered like the proper competitive ability on most builds, I'd imagine.
There it goes again. It's a bit more dependent on the build, because the downside, so power doesn't have a downside, but Anger's downside is you're more likely to get hit. So some ranchers who build, say, like, also that was a really big hit once again, a 41% hit. Some ranchers who build speed-based monsters don't want Anger because if they get hit a bunch, they're probably not going to live. Mm-hmm. And since Anger makes it more likely you are to get hit while you're getting the increased guts rate, it usually is a bit of a down. However, doesn't seem like this in. Oh my God!
What? Oh, the grit.
Oh my God! Yeah, the grit actually. So grit's another battle special that we were talking about. You talked about it a bit earlier, but it makes you survive if you've been knocked out. However, I don't know if that's going to be enough. I think Xiphoid might win this on high life. So we saw this a couple times, but I'll explain it a bit further. If you go to time up right there, it looks at your life percentage right there. So because of the life percentage difference there, Kahuna's monster Xiphoid still won.
Right. So we recently figured out that in as the closer it is to getting time, monsters like to prioritize self-healing techs, right?
Yes.
Which neither of our monsters have, but...
Yeah, but somewhere down the line that might be interesting to see. But I will also say that this is definitely a very close match. People in the chat said they expected it to be a bit more close. And what it really came down to is definitely hitting a lot of those rush slashes. Xiphoid hit, I think, 4 out of 5 rush slashes, and they're all around 40%, which is kind of nuts if you think about it. But sometimes that's just the...
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of because everything in the actual battle is RNG dependent. Like, we're not controlling the monsters. It's a lot like salty bets where you watch 2 CPUs battle it out.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the case, there would probably be like even a larger discrepancy of like what is good, what isn't good, and you can't do couch co-op over the internet. So
yeah. Oh, for certain. If you look at the meta for like AI battles versus the meta for in person, like 1v1s, it's a lot different because, for example, a lot of monsters that don't like building power, like Pixie or Mach, are stuck with slot 1 techs that are power based, and the AI would love to use those. But an actual human being would obviously never if they have like 1 power set and 900 in intelligence stat. So while the meta obviously hasn't been very explored for in-person fighting because, well, you're an online community figure, it definitely becomes a lot different. So we're definitely all AI based. While you pull up the next couple monsters, I am going to once again answer some questions from chat. So Staircase says, "What's the green stat?" That's intelligence. While definitely not obvious what that actually is. We could actually show you. Last match, for example, Pontoon had a move there that was colored in green instead of yellow, like all the other moves. And so that meant that it uses its intelligence stat to attack instead of power. So that's all that means. Engine, welcome Engine, says, I think I see what's going on here. Ranchers waste one monster for each rank and they battle Ima versus Fimba style. How will the season look? So, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have a number of ranchers, and it'll be like this, where we have, for example, Macho versus Kahuna. But then after Macho versus Kahuna, we'll have, say, for example, JP versus Nash, and we'll basically do a series of 1v1s like this until there's no more, until everyone's fought that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be like how the season will look, unless I'm wrong.
I believe probably what we would do is that we would plug it into like a round robin bracket into challenge, and then probably do each round would correspond to 1 week, right? Which is like why we're hoping to hopefully get an even number of people entered into the league, so like one person wouldn't have a bye every week.
Yeah.
So moving on to rank B, this is the mixed attacker rank. So my monster on the left is a white Suezo, which is one of the 2 final boss monsters in the game that became available to use up on the port. It's a very interesting Suezo. I believe it has a 9 guts rate. It gets real. It has grit, and it has ease, which Suezos usually normally have. I went with a more full out. I went with something really similar to what you did with Wall Guys. Where
I'm noticing the similarities here.
Yeah, you inspired me to do something like this, and he was very easy to raise. Where I literally just force fed him Paradoxon.
Yeah.
To get those defensive stats down. Whereas Kahuna, he got a little bit more defense on his monster. It looks like less power, less life, more defense.
Yeah.
So building a mixed attacking monster is a hard in a lot of competitive settings, unless you're doing an uncapped stat tournament.
Yeah.
JP, would you be able to explain that a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. So, what we mean by max cap tournaments versus not cap tournaments, or like stat restrictions or whatever. So, certain tournaments will have certain restrictions. So, like for example, you saw on the actual image explaining each rank. Like for example, stat cap, it's 2,250, and so that's B rank. And what we mean by an uncapped tournament or an uncapped stat tournament is every single stat can be 999, which is an effectively, if I'm not mistaken, I think 5,994.
I think so.
Hypothetical stat cap, but that's there's no cap. And so the reason why mixed attackers are very hard usually is because since you have a stat cap, since attacking stats are split up into 2 different stats, if you put points in both, then your attacks on both ends are not going to be as strong as if you just stuck with one stat. So like for example, say this wasn't a mixed attacking tournament, you could have just put all of your points into power, all your points into intelligence, and do more damage with your respective techs. Mm-hmm. So that's why mixed attackers generally aren't very good. Sometimes they're pretty good, and as you get higher and higher and higher and higher into the stat caps, they start being. But with lower stat caps, like for example, with this one, it would have been hypothetically more optimal to just dump everything into power or dump everything into intelligence and put more into life and defenses than having both attacking stats. So that's why the Battle League decided to do one of them where you have to do mixed attackers, just so we can get some interesting diversity, and so people who do like doing mixed attackers, like for example me, definitely have a place where they can fit them in pretty easily instead of trying to like shoehorn them in and saying, "This is good, guys. See, look, haha."
So in terms of the monsters that we're using, Suezo can be pretty good on either side. I think a lot of their techs generally lean towards intelligence based, while Bajarl, which is the genie-like monster that's on the right, they're generally very punch oriented, but they do have the only life and guts draining tech in the game, right?
I think Mock's Lifesteal might... Oh, big attack there. But I think Mock's Lifesteal also does both, but that might only be in hard mode. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Yeah, hard mode is it's a different version of the game. It's a ROM hack made by Alkeus that is the main competitive version of the game that we run on emulator.
Yeah. Both these monsters' builds are very interesting, and I want to talk about this. And I'm talking about their moves because SoulEatr does not have a lot of moves. It's just the basic and the like the uppercuts line, and or like the 1-2 smash. I think it's the smash line. I think they're called, and the pop moves. I don't think we've seen the pop moves right now, but they're very fun moves. So I think see, look, there we go. Boom, that was, I think, a miss, actually. Oh, well. Maybe we'll see that later.
I don't know if you can really see it from my Discord restream, but Jarl Joker's face is fucking gross.
Oh, yeah, no, it's super creepy. Odd wins the first match here, by the way. Mainly because it hit more of its moves. The lack of speed on SoulEatr really coming in as a bit of a downside here. Definitely the life total on Macho's monster over here, Odd. Even if it doesn't exactly have a lot of defenses, it still has a decent amount of life, so it can take a couple attacks here and there. Yeah. Whereas SoulEatr, even though it has a lot of defense, has a bit less life, so repeated moves over and over again, like for example, like the 3-4 tail assaults it used in a row, definitely start chipping away, considering it only has 3-5 life.
I think probably you would agree, right? The higher the stat cap, probably the worse defense is. They try to rework defense a little bit in the port, but I don't think the algorithm that they changed it to still does a whole lot.
Yeah, so the higher the stats are in general, like the higher the stat cap is in general, the more you're going to want to move towards speed over defense, because the best defensive stat in the game is life. When you're at really low like stat caps, and they're not capped to like the stat you can go towards, like for example the Tecmo Cup where there was 2,997. The best build, the one that won was one that just dumped everything into power, life, and scale. Mm-hmm. So at lower stat caps, life is definitely your best stat. And if you have some extra putting in defense, since you already have a large life pool, definitely helps. But as you get higher into stat caps, speed just becomes more valuable because the higher the stat cap is, the more damage things are going to start doing. And the more the more things will start to hurt. And defense only goes so far, because how defense works in this game is defense looks at both your defense stat and your attacking stat of the enemy's attacking type, which could be a bit confusing. So for example, when Odd over here uses I-beam, when it calculates damage, it looks at SoulEatr's defense. And it looks at SoulEatr's intelligence to calculate how much it's going to do, instead of just its defense. So what that means is in tournaments where you're not forced to be a mixed attacker, an intelligence monster runs up and you have maximum defense and maximum power, you're only getting half value from defense stat. So that's why speed ends up becoming more valuable, just because your defense stat is half as valuable, whereas your speed stat is, standard value. And as we get into the next match here, we're seeing once again Odd going for a bunch of tail assaults, which definitely helps out its chances. SoulEatr doesn't actually have an attack in slot 1, so whenever they're close like this, albeit it is using a bunch of jab moves right now, it's going to be gaining guts while Odd's going to be trying to go for attacks. That was a big critical telekinesis. SoulEatr's almost down for the count. Oh, that's real, I think, right?
Yeah, that is real. Real is usually exclusive to Joker main breeds or Joker subbreed monsters, and the idea behind it is that once the enemy gets really weak, your monster shows its real power, and it multiplies your guts rate, right? It multiplies your damage. It does a whole lot of extra attributes to your monster. But
yeah, so I think it's double damage and double guts rate.
But the downside of it is that when the status runs out, your monster becomes very slow, its gut rate slows, and I believe it takes way more damage, and it does less damage.
It does less damage, it takes a lot more damage, and it generates guts, and it moves slower at the arena. So when Real runs out, it's definitely a problem. But it looks like right here that... See, there's Real once again. There's Real, and there's Anger from SoulEatr. The problem here is, yeah, see, look, that attack did on a critical 128 when SoulEatr had, I think, 50 or 40 more guts when the attack was launched. So you'd think that, like with what I described before, it would do less damage because of the guts correction thing, but Real just said no to that, and it did more damage than it would usually do while critting, even because Real doubles your damage. So Real's actually very strong in the part because monsters can attack whatever. So as you're playing with the next monsters, I'm going to answer some more questions that we had in chat.
Yes, please.
So Staircase says, do smaller monsters dodge more often? Like, what's the benefit of raising a small one? So the monster's actual model size doesn't matter too much unless you're talking about starting, if it starts in slot 4, 3, or outside of the slot moves. But smaller monsters do not dodge more often. Monsters with higher speed stats dodge more often. Let's see. Engine says people can change their entries. To what extent? So after each week, you can just change what your you can change your monster's entry. So you could, for example, Kahuna is upset that SoulEatr ate crud and died a bunch. So he could change it, for example, to an ape golem or something. Like he could change it to literally whatever he wants it to. He could just completely change it. And that can apply to any of the monsters. Let's see. Zanaga says, I'm interested in trying this out, but I'm just not quite sure if I can hit the S rank requirement. Well, you could definitely do that. There's definitely ways to increase your monster's lifespan. First of all, being nicer to your monsters, and I'm not meaning like not scolding them or whatever, but making sure their stress and fatigue is down will go a long way in making sure your monster survives long. Furthermore, there's 3 different items in the game that can actually cause you to increase your lifespan, and that's the different peaches. So there's Silver Peach, which you can find by beating the Elder's Cup. There's the Gold Peach, which you can find in the Forest Expedition, and there's also Plant Disc Chips. If you combine using them, you get 10 extra weeks of life. And so utilizing all these will actually get you around, if I'm not mistaken, 85 extra weeks of life, which goes a long way. That's, I think, almost 2 extra years of your monster's life, and if you use them strategically, that can get you almost 2 more years of your monster's prime. So it could definitely be a bit challenging to hit the S rank requirements on the port, but it's definitely not undoable. Especially if you use monsters like Mach or Raki or Plant or Kato, because those monsters live for a long time. Also, you could use combining. I'm not going to explain a bunch about combining right now, but you could also use combining to get extra stats and extra moves.
One of the differences in the port too, because it's based on the original Japanese version instead of being based on the NTSC version, is each monster has about 100 weeks cut off of their lifespan, so they die. Was it about 2 years earlier than they would in the PS2 version?
So each in-game year is 12 months, which each have 4 weeks. So each in-game year is around 48 weeks of life. And the Japanese version cuts out 100 weeks worth of life of every single monster. So it's a little under 2 years. You get Nick a little under 2 years.
All right. So to segue over to B rank, we ended up doing similar builds again. So I'm raising a golem, which is kind of like the game's quintessential I'm big, I'm defensive, I kill you in one hit type of monster. And where Kahuna raised a Zilla, which generally I think they wanted you to build Zilla more bulky in the game. So the special requirement for this tier is that your monsters had to have a slow guts regain. So I know mine is 15. I don't know the exact numbers on Zilla Gel. So this is going to be a lot like D rank in the fact that we both have 2 slow, 2 actually hard-hitting ones this time. In D rank, they weren't very hard-hitting. These are going to be actually hard-hitting monsters.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's go ahead and start. Now, you'll note someone who's used to seeing Golem notice that in my far away slot move, I don't have Brow Smash. I really wanted Brow Smash. I did not do very good at at getting the techs on this guy, the ones that I wanted to. Once the league actually starts, this is probably going to be one of the monsters that I do rebreed.
Of course. And that's the good thing about the league, right? You build something and then you learn more about the game and you realize you could have done something better. Well, you have all the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
BgKahuna taking an early lead, and I'm not just talking about the Rancher, but the monster named after the Rancher, BgKahuna, was taking an early lead, got hit with that charge, and gets, I think that's Anger? Yeah, that's Anger. So it's going to get some Guts Rate faster. It got Guts Rate faster for a very small amount of time. And it goes for the Roll Assault. It actually had a decent chance to dodge compared to everything else in here, but it actually gets the critical hit and beats Unearth the first match.
Poor guy was like on the ground for like a good 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Zilla's the only monster in the game that's bigger than Golem, right?
So if we're talking strictly model size, then yes. Zilla is bigger just in model size, but how the game actually measures where things start is by going from the monster's behind. So there's actually a couple monsters that are bigger than Golem and bigger than Zilla, namely I think both Worm and Beaklon, because Beaklon has a big horn, and Worm and Color Pintor. So Worm, Color Pintor, and Beaklon I think are bigger than both these monsters technically, based on how the game looks at it, just because they go lengthwise instead of height.
Right. So the second match right here, BgKahuna's gotten off 2 big roll assaults, but Unearth just did probably you would consider Brow Hit and Brow Smash some of Golem's best moves, right?
Yeah, so Brow Hit and Brow Smash are very, very, very strong moves. I would only argue that maybe Golem has one move that might be raw stronger. In Cyclone, just because it hits so hard that when it hits, pretty much anything's dead. It has 72 force. Oh my god, that's a foolery. I think that's the first foolery we've seen all night.
Yeah, this guy doesn't like me too well. So we learned recently that the more stressed an evil monster is, the more likely that they're able to crit. So I was kind of a dickhead to him the last couple of days of his training. So, alright, it's 1-1 right now. Remember that these are best of 5. So,
yeah.
Either of them has to win 2 more.
And I do want to mention that why the crit rate is so important, and that's because, especially for Golem, the Brow Hit and Brow Smash moves you were talking about, they have a high crit chance, and that's why they're so good, because they do a lot of damage and they have a very high crit chance. So you definitely want that extra crit chance on Unearth. Even though it's taking a bit of a backseat this game so far, it got hit with, I think, 2 roll assaults again, which is kind of nuts. It's swinging back with some brow hits, though. Goes for a punch. Misses the punch. Goes for charge. I think charge is really the only move that we've seen, which is, it's really funny because both these monsters are very defensive. But I think charge is really one of the only moves on the Golem that has a almost perfect accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Even though these are both defensive, and that just speaks to Golem's tech. This is actually insanely close. Is either monster going to attack? They have the guts to attack. Pushes back. Pushes him back into a slot where he doesn't have moves and then gets hit by a slot 4 move.
Pushed him right back into
BgKahuna
getting his ass kicked.
Yeah. He's like, get away from me! Okay, if you say so.
He could have done literally anything else. That was literally the worst thing he could have done.
That was actually insanely funny. And especially since we've seen Roll Assault do nothing but hit. And it has a 75% chance to hit, so it might miss one or two of its moves. But, nope, not today. That was only game 3, though, if I'm not mistaken. So, Macho, your monster Unearth has a couple more chances to make this work out for him.
So, BgKahuna has to win 1, Unearth has to win 2. I'd love to see a game 5.
This is also very intense because if Kahuna loses this, I don't see a route where he wins. Because then you'll go up to 6 points, and even if Kahuna wins S rank, then it's lights out.
Mm-hmm.
So Kahuna really needs to win this one more game, and right now it's looking like that might happen. Unearth's definitely that crit definitely helps, but Unearth does have the guts lead right now, which means it does more damage with its attacks, and if Golem likes anything, it likes doing damage with its attacks.
That thwack right there could be, well, got the thwack and procced anger, so honestly, at the end of the day, that thwack might not have been the best thing. If he kept using thwack, maybe, to knock the guts down, but Nash actually warned me about that, because I was messaging him, and I was just like, hey, I got thwack. What other moves should I get? He's just like, why did you get thwack?
Thwack.
Everything's gonna be defensive and has anger.
It doesn't matter, though. Unearth actually takes this game, so we do go to a game 5. But yeah, Thwack's not usually considered a very good move on Golem. It might be good in this format, because considering everything else has a slow guts rate just like Golem.
Yeah, that was kind of my idea behind him getting it.
The thing, though, here is that I think I've seen Thwack used 3 times, and all 3 times it's proactive BgKahuna's anger.
Mm-hmm.
So... maybe not your best choice. We actually see a roll assault miss for the first time all match. What I was talking about earlier actually came to fruition with that another foolery. This only 75 to hit. Even with that foolery though, Unearth's in a really good spot. Gets hit with the second roll assault. This crit's gonna do a whole hell of a, and I just spoken to existence. Sorry about that, friend. But Unearth now, even though it has the guts lead, it definitely is behind in life total. These charges are going to do a decent amount of damage, though. It's pretty even now, because I think one more move from BgKahuna that's not a basic attack will kill, and that thwack doesn't do enough. So if it gets anger here, first time tonight it doesn't get anger, and I think Unearth actually has this now.
Oh, but the grit, though.
The grit, I don't know if BgKahuna has enough time to use more moves, though.
So actually, the thwack actually came in handy there at the end.
Yeah, it did. I was just bad mouthing thwack, but it actually worked out pretty well in Unearth's favor, because now I think there's no route in which you lose this. Or so.
Let's see. So, right, I won D rank, he won C, so he has 2. I currently have 6. If he wins S, he'll only get up to 5. I mean, we're obviously going to still do the match, though.
Oh yeah, of course. This is like one of the bigger climactic ones, considering these are the strongest monsters in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, we both did similar builds to where we both did glass cannon-y intelligence builds. So I did a gel, I did a Jill. He did a gel. 2 very similar sounding monsters, but in name, but in appearance could not be more completely different.
Yeah, so while you pull the monsters, once again, I'm going to answer some questions in chat, respond to some questions in chat. Zanaga says, Jill AI really like that move. That's actually a monster called Zilla. Jill is a monster we're going to see next on Macho's side. Let's see. BgKahuna says consulting Nash is illegal.
Hey, I did it out in the open. I didn't do it in DMs. I did it in the Wild West, all right?
Zanaga says, when is the deadline for submission? That's a really good question. When is the deadline for submission, Macho?
I believe it's, let me double check right now. I believe it is January 4th? Or maybe, let's see if I can edit my, see. League play begins January 7th. League is held once a week on Thursdays, 5:30 p.m. Actually, see. As long as you have 5 monsters that fit the indicated ranks by Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's if you've already entered. Actually, Kahuna, I don't know. Have we Okay, you have to sign up before January 1st. Okay, he answered in the chat.
Gotcha. Okay, that works too. So you said it was also going to be a Wednesday, which is really interesting because the other battle league that we do.
You have to get stuff in your freezer by the Wednesday, I believe.
Gotcha.
We normally want to run these on Thursday nights.
Gotcha. Okay, see, Thursday nights work. Is it always going to be streaming to your Twitch, or is it going to be to BgKahuna's Twitch?
That's the plan right now. I've talked to BgKahuna about streaming. I think he's a little shy about getting on, and he also doesn't have a capture card.
Fair.
So I'm
kind
down
of a requirement for a Switch game.
I'm down to help. I'm down to stream. I really enjoyed doing Wall Guys, so
yeah, go for it. Will you? Actual question. I don't know if I should ask this in private or not, but I'll just ask it here.
Go for it.
Are you going to have me on for commentary for all of them, or is this just for a special occasion?
No, but dude, if you're down to do commentary every Thursday night, you're more than welcome.
Okay, great. Because at least I can't tell you directly right now if I'm going to be able to, considering we get new schedules every 6 months at my job, and we should be getting our new schedules later this month. But I actually applied for the exact same schedule again, like I usually do. So assuming my schedule stays relatively the same and I have Thursdays off, I'd be more than happy to hop in every Thursday.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on. You've been a big asset tonight. A lot more technical knowledge than I have of the game currently. I'm trying to learn more and study more. But no, you've been a great co-commentator. I'd love to have you on every Thursday.
God, it's really funny. This is almost like a blast to the past. Fun fact about me: if you guys ever heard of a little thing called Twitch Plays Pokemon, I actually used to be the head of commentary for Twitch Plays Pokemon. So this is definitely taking me back to my days where I did a lot of commentary.
Bro, are you serious?
All the time. Yeah.
I did not know that. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't for a very long time, and I wasn't able to really keep up with it because I don't know how much you know about the politics of Twitch Plays Pokemon. I'm not going to talk your ear off about it. But around the time where I became head of commentary, a lot of commentators stopped commentating. Combined with the fact that I was both at a full-time job and was going to college at the time, not a lot of commentary actually ended up happening. But for that time, I was the head of commentary. And even before then, I did commentary for Twitch Plays Pokemon.
That's really cool, dude.
Yeah, but it's taken me back, because around the time where I joined the Monster Rancher community is around the time that I stopped doing commentary for Twitch Plays Pokemon. So it's kind of interesting that I'm bookending my Monster Rancher time in the community with commentary roles.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's really awesome to have someone with experience on board. My breadth of commentary has been very short. I used to host Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate tournaments. Well, I didn't really host the tournaments for Ultimate, but I've done some Smash commentary in West Virginia, and then for some of the bigger tournaments in Ohio, they somehow let me on to talk, even though I had no actual history, any notable things. I guess they just think my voice is funny sounding.
I mean, hey, you know what? The only way you get to start doing commentary is if you put your foot out there and say, hey, can I do this? A lot of people, especially when they were my spell time where I was overseeing applications for commentators, a lot of people were like, yeah, no, I haven't done commentary before, so I hope that's fine. I'm like, well, I mean, the only way you do commentary is if you try, and it's not like we're Twitch Plays Pokemon, sure, but we're not getting paid to do this. We're all volunteers. So, I mean, obviously you're going to be rough in the beginning, and that's to be expected, and that's completely okay. I was an absolute moron with a terrible quality microphone when I first started.
I just got one of those, $50-ish blue snowballs.
Damn, I wish I had that. Right now, I don't know if you could tell, but right now I'm actually using an 8-year-old webcam microphone. It's actually really funny. Yeah, it's actually the microphone I used when I first started doing commentary. And then I got a better microphone, but my better microphone went by the wayside. And so now I have this one again.
All right, I think we've talked the people's ear off enough about ourselves. So let's go ahead and go into the S rank battle. So we have my monster Lumpy versus Kahuna's monster First Frame, and First Frame is a very appropriate name for a gel. because these monsters have one of the best moves in the game called Gelcopter, where it literally turns into a helicopter and shoots 2 ballistic missiles at the other monsters. And it's one of, I believe, one of the most highest damaging and most accurate moves in the game, right?
Yeah, so for its damage rating, for like the moves it sits around and like how much damage it does, it's the most accurate by far. And even then, I'm pretty sure it's like within like the top 10 or top 15 amount of like damage the move outputs. And one of the more accurate techs in the game. Most techs actually in the game have a negative modifier to their accuracy, but this is one of the few ones that has a positive modifier to its accuracy, coupled with the fact that it does an insane amount of damage. You come to all of a sudden, arguably the best move in the game. And so Lumpy's really going to have a hard time competing with that, considering you're going to hit this A button. I'm pretty sure first frame's going to do what it does best and try to first frame something.
So just to stall a little bit more, Lumpy also has a similar move called Snowstorm, which is not as strong, but it's kind of the same idea. I believe Snowstorm does a lot more withering than Gelcopter does.
Yeah, I think so. Gelcopter's not necessarily known for its weathering. It hits and it hits hard, and if it doesn't kill, the gel's in a really awkward spot, because considering it doesn't get guts very fast. But most of the time, especially with 999 intelligence, you're going to kill first. So let's see how this goes. Hit that A button to start the match. Oh my goodness, 51% to hit on both. There it is!
That's why it's called first frame, baby.
Goodbye. The match took all 5 seconds, and that's it. Good night.
Lumpy moved back like 1 step. First frame moved forward 1 step, and he was just like target sighted.
I've got them in my sights. Fire now.
Now one of the he hit it again. Boom! Oh, 999 damage.
Hey.
So we haven't been able to see it yet. But my monster Lumpy is a special. Oh, okay. He gets the first frame.
Oh.
Does 553, and he procs. I think that's vigor. And
that's
then,
vigor. Vigor and power from first frame.
First frame procs power. So Lumpy is a special version of this monster based off of one of the in-game monsters named Bigfoot. And what's so special about this version of Jill Hare is that it has an 11 guts rate. And one of the problems with Jill and most Jills is that they're very slow guts rate, which I don't think their techs make up for, right?
Not at all, no. Jill's actually considered one of the worst monsters in the game, but with an 11 guts rate, that's completely fixed.
They kind of wanted to build Jill like how they built Dragon, but they just didn't make...
They just didn't do it well.
Yeah, they didn't do it well, essentially.
Oh, that's also really strong tech for first frame. Here we go.
The crit Snowstorm.
Oh!
All right, so we're actually going to a game 5. It looked like first frame was gonna run away with it from those first 2 matches, but Lumpy's coming back swinging.
Yeah, this is actually kind of insane.
All right, S rank, game 5. Whoever takes this wins. Obviously, wins S rank. Gets 3 points.
Feels like a Mexican standoff. Draw.
So
Lumpy got the first hit in.
Now,
ooh.
One of the bad things about this now is that Lumpy is pretty much completely out of guts.
Yeah.
And I know a lot from running him on the matchmaking online a lot. After that initial snowstorm, he loves these power techs. One of the other things that I had to deal with when using this special version of Wondar is that it starts with punch combo. Oh, the crit beam.
Oh, dang, yeah. So something we didn't talk about because we were super focused on Gelcopter. First frame's other only good move is Parabolic Beam. Or Parabolic Cannon. I can't remember which one that is. But it crits very often. So it creates kind of like this pseudo Gelcopter that hits less often and does less damage, but costs a bit less. And so we just saw there a critical hit, and it did enough to knock out Lumpy in 1 hit.
All right, so Sorry, Photoshop was being silly.
That's fine.
All right, and that is the not tournament, but that is the exhibition. So
that too. Yeah, that's it. We're done here.
Yeah. Now, obviously, once the actual league starts, we'll be doing more than one person or like 2 people a night. We'll have probably maybe about like 15, 20 battles a night. We won't be explaining stuff as much either. I know we talked your guys' ear off a lot. We'll be doing a lot more like in-game commentary. But that is just a little taste of what we wanted to show you guys. So now I'll show you how to sign up if you want. So I'll go ahead and post it here in the chat. If you would like to sign up. Now this is on the port. So you have to have the port. You have to have a Switch. I don't know if you need Switch Online membership for this game. I doubt you do.
You definitely don't need it to put monsters in the freezer. And if I'm not mistaken, all we need to do is just grab your monsters out of the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even think you necessarily need Switch Online. You might need to go online once to like put your monsters out there. But Switch Online, I think, has a 30-day free trial. So if you don't want to pay for Switch Online, you can just sign up for the tournament, raise your monsters, then get the free trial for Switch Online. So you can go online once, so you can put your monsters out there on the internet, and then cancel your subscription, and you will have effectively entered the port tournament.
All right, so I'm gonna pull up Discord real quick here to show you guys how, if you need to look at this later. So basically, once you join the Monster Rancher Discord, you're going to want to come down to this channel right here, which is called Tournament Information, and Kahuna's post is right here. So joining the Discord is the best way to join, keep up with information, and just generally learn a lot about Monster Rancher. There's a lot of really cool people inside the Discord. Everyone's super helpful. And generally everyone I've met through there has been very friendly. I will post an invite link to the Discord too, and all this information too will be on the VOD that I upload to my YouTube channel. JP, plug your stream for tomorrow.
Oh, hell yeah, okay. So my name is JP, and I'm running a stream tomorrow. That is a tournament for Monster Rancher 2, which is the English release of this game. It'll be via the emulator, and it'll be also with our competitive standard hard mode. So if you definitely want to see a slightly different version of this game, check that out. There are 10 entrants in the hard mode tournament that I'm going to be running. It's called JP's... hey, what rating do you want your stream to be?
I've said fuck and whatever.
Okay, great. So the tournament's called the tournament's called JP's Shit Show. It's based off of a tournament that was actually in the Smash scene. I think around a couple months ago, called Ginger's Shit Show. The gimmick of that tournament is everyone started new files and named themselves something very funny, so we could all laugh about it. But past that, the tournament's actually really standard hard mode tournament. It's a slightly lower than average stat cap, and it's going to be really fun. I'm actually starting it bright and early at, if I'm remembering correctly, 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, which is New York time. If you're not aware, I don't actually live in New York, but that's just the most recognizable city in that time zone. So the tournament, it's going to be going on for probably around 4 or 5 hours or so. It's definitely going to be a very fun time. I'll post a link to it in the stream right now. I'll post a link to my Twitch, and you can follow that if you want to see some more Monster Rancher tournament content.
Yes, please.
Back when I started in the Discord, I ran a tournament series called The Joy of Ranching. And The Joy of Ranching was a tournament series that was held every month. And I would love to go back to monthly tournaments like I did in the past. Obviously, this one got a bit delayed because I had to have surgery and stuff like that. But I definitely want to go back to doing tournaments once a month. So if you follow my Twitch stream at... Let me just finish typing it in chat. This right here. If you follow that, tomorrow, first of all, you'll be able to see the tournament. And then every month, and around the same time every month, I'll be doing a tournament. And so hopefully you can see more of that. So you definitely follow me if you want to see some more tournament content. Definitely follow Macho if you want to see some more Battle League content, some Switch Battle League content. That's going to be starting up in the new year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all I really want to say about my Twitch channel.
So one more idea that I thought of real quick is, so I brought up the form to fill out to enter yourself into the Spee-bul. So this is the link that's on Kahuna's post.
Kahuna.
So there's a little blurb. League begins on January 7th. The league, to get yourself entered, you have to enter by January 1st. So keep that in mind. That's plenty of time to start raising stuff if you want to build up money. So you're going to come down here, and here's the rules for everything. So here's a good reference to have for the rules. The rules are also kept in the Discord too. And if you need the rules, I have the files saved on my computer. I could send them to you. I'm sure Kahuna could help if I can't get you. So Discord name, really simple. You're going to want to do your Discord name with your hashtag. Your name is the name that you use in-game. Makes it really easy for us to look you up on the freezer. And then your team mascot. So let me switch over to this real quick. So get rid of this. On my YouTube channel where I upload the VODs, much like how I did with Smash Brothers, I want to upload VODs with a mascot monster. Your mascot monster does not need to be on your team. Like Kahuna picked just a regular Baku, not a Baku Durahan. And I went ahead with a Wonder, which is the Jill Hare. So like I said, I did Jill Hare. And this is the monster that will show up in the thumbnails of the VODs that get uploaded to my YouTube channel.
That's so sick.
Down here, you enter what monsters that you want to enter and their name. Now,
you're still on the exposition match screen.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm here for a reason.
Now, he set it up to where you don't need to answer every question. So if you don't know what monsters, if you don't know what monsters you want to raise and you just know these 3 questions, that's fine. He's had it set up to where you can go back and edit your responses. And of course, you're going to want to edit your responses too if, say, it's week 3 of the Spee-bul and you have a new D-rank monster for some reason. So going down and listing your monsters, it's really simple. So like, say my S rank was a Jill Hare and his name was Lumpy. My A rank was a Golem Naga. His name was Unearth. B rank. Now, what I like to do for this, for the question breeds, is I like to put their actual species name and then their main breed and subbreed in parentheses. And so that was odd. And then C rank was my Zilla Pixie. I can't type correctly. That was Pontoon. And then my D rank monster was Nematode. And he was a Beaklin Tiger. Very easy to set up. Like I said, you can go back and edit this at any time. I'm just going to go ahead and close out because I've already submitted my stuff.
Yeah. I do want to point something out really quickly. Has anyone else submitted besides us three or no?
I know Nash was raising one of his monsters on stream the other night. And then Bioxion said tonight in chat that they have their 5 monsters decided.
All right, so this probably only affects probably just me and Nash at most. If you have done that form already, you can't go back and edit it because the questions have changed on there. You've basically added a question, so you can't go back and edit. So if you have already submitted for the Spee-bul and you want to edit your form, like edit the form that you filled out, you're actually just gonna have to fill it entirely.
Yeah, and then Kahuna can go ahead and sift through responses, and he'll know your actual one and stuff like that. He's very on top of things. He's very excited. We'd love to have a lot of people in the Spee-bul.
This is something definitely to be excited about. This is going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait for the new year because that's when this is going to start up.
So I haven't ran anything competitively in a while. So it feels good again, making like graphics for stuff. I like to try and make things look professional as much as I can.
Sure.
I guess, does anybody have any last minute questions on anything before we close stuff out?
I'm looking in the chat. It doesn't seem like anyone has any questions that Kahuna hasn't answered, so type in chat now or forever hold your peace unless you join the Discord and ask it's one of us in the Switchports channel, which in that case we'd be happy to answer your questions.
Alright. I think we're good. JP, thanks again so much for being here. You were awesome tonight.
Yeah, no problem. I had a ton of